Have you ever had a symptom flare up and thought, is this fibromyalgia? Or is something else going on? Maybe it's tingling, nerve pain, dizziness, gut issues, or a flare that feels completely different. It's scary when something new appears and you don't know which box it belongs in. I've lived with fibromyalgia for over 25 years and I've had this exact worry many times. Today I'm breaking it all down simply. Why symptoms overlap, how to tell when it's fibro, when it might be something else, and the clearest way to decide what to do next. By the end you'll have a clear, simple plan for making sense of new symptoms and hopefully feel a lot less scared when they show up. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through the main conditions people often confuse with fibro, the ones that look almost identical on the surface. But first, we need to understand why this overlap happens in the first place. Fibromyalgia comes from a hypersensitive nervous system, which affects pain, sleep, hormones, digestion, balance, mood, almost everything. So fibro ends up looking like lots of other conditions, even though the root cause is different. This is why the question, is this fibro or something else, is so common and completely understandable. Now let's walk through the overlaps clearly so you know what each one looks like and how it differs from fibro. And right after this section, I'll give you a simple step-by-step guide for deciding when a symptom needs a closer look. And just a quick note before we go through these, this isn't a full medical list and I'm only touching on each one briefly. There are lots of conditions that can overlap with fibro, and if you'd like deeper videos on any of these, let me know in the comments. This section is simply to give you a clear starting point, and always speak to your doctor if a symptom feels unusual for you. So the first one we're looking at is hypermobility. This involves joints that move more than they should. Common symptoms are joint pain, fatigue, dizziness, instability. It differs from fibro because the pain is joint specific, especially in those areas that do overextend. People are often naturally flexible or double jointed if they have hypermobility. Fatigue does happen with this condition, but fibro pain is more widespread and not centered solely on the joints. If you've always been very flexible or get repeated joint injuries, this is worth exploring alongside fibro. Next, we're looking at ME/CFS. Symptoms are severe fatigue, brain fog, unrefreshing sleep, and crashes after activity. Sounds very much like fibromyalgia. The key difference is post-exertional malaise, which worsens 24 to 48 hours after an activity. Fibro flares often show up much quicker. ME/CFS is driven by energy failure. Fibro is driven by pain processing. And yes, you can have both, and many people do. So now let's look at perimenopause and menopause. Symptoms include aches, temperature swings, brain fog, mood changes, sleep disruption. How it differs is that symptoms are often connected to cycle changes or your age, usually 40 plus. Brain fog can feel heavier and more hormonal with menopause. Fluctuations can follow hormone shifts and not stress or activity. So if your cycle has changed or you're 40 plus, speak to your doctor. It's absolutely worth asking. With IBS and gut issues, symptoms are bloating, nausea, cramping, constipation or diarrhea, switching between both. How it differs from fibro is that IBS tends to be consistent or near daily. Fibro gut symptoms come and go, often triggered by stress or certain foods. When sensitivities are managed, fibro gut symptoms often reduce. IBS tends to stay. The next one is quite often linked with and to fibromyalgia, and that's stress, anxiety, and depression. Anxiety brings worrying thoughts, tension, chest tightness, shaking. Depression brings flatness, wanting to withdraw, loss of interest, no appetite. How they differ from fibro is that the emotional symptoms are more constant and feel internally driven in mood conditions. Fibro symptoms shift more with sleep, stress, inflammation, and activity. If mood challenges feel strong or constant, do talk to your GP. It matters. Next, we're going to look at MS. It is less common, but it's often something that people fear when they have fibro. So the symptoms of MS include tingling, nerve pain, fatigue, and seem very similar to fibro at first glance. But how it differs is that MS symptoms tend to affect specific areas, often on one side of your body. They may be coordination issues or vision changes. Fibro tends to be widespread and unpredictable, not localized. Once I had nerve pain down one side, and even I asked my GP, "Are you sure it's not MS?" All the tests were clear, but the fear is real and it's okay to get it checked. Before we move on, if this is helping you feel clearer, please give the video a like. It helps more people with fibro find this information and tells me that this content is useful. So, how do you actually know when a symptom needs checking? Let me walk you step by step through the exact questions to ask yourself. Most people focus on severity, how severe is the symptom, but that alone isn't reliable. What matters most is pattern. So first, ask yourself, is it new? A brand new symptom, especially if strong, is worth noting. Secondly, ask yourself, is it different from the normal fibro pattern? We all have a baseline, and anything noticeably different usually jumps out at us and is worth paying attention to. 3, does it follow your usual triggers? Think about what happened before the symptom appeared. Were you stressed? Did you have poor sleep? Were you overdoing it in any way? Was there some emotional upset? If yes, it could still be fibro, but just a stronger flare. And the fourth question you can use to check in with yourself is it lasting longer than usual or repeating with no clear trigger? If something sticks around, get it checked. And last, yes, severity does matter. Even if a symptom fits your usual pattern, if it becomes extreme, overwhelming, or unmanageable, seek help. You may need a bit more help, like physiotherapy, a medication review, or extra support. In the next section, I'm going to show you how to spot these changes more easily by understanding your fibro pattern. Keeping track of your symptoms helps you understand what fibro looks like for you. Especially early on, make a note of what symptoms you get, when they appear, what triggers them, and how long they last. This is how you learn your baseline, and that's what helps you spot something unusual. I've had fibro alongside long COVID, and there were periods where everything flared at once. Other conditions can overlap with fibro, so this isn't about brushing symptoms aside. It's about recognizing when something isn't following your normal pattern. And I know a lot of people worry about going to the doctor, especially if you've been told before, it's just your fibro. So in the next section, I'll show you exactly how to talk to your GP so the conversation feels clear, calm, and centered on your concerns. A quick reminder before we move on, everything I share comes from over 25 years of figuring this out the long way. But you don't have to. If you want extra support while you're learning your own patterns, I've put a free flare tracker and some helpful resources in my stand store. They make this whole process so much easier. The link is below if you want to take a look. Okay, let's continue. When the doctor says, "How can I help you?" say this up front. "I've come in because I'm having some symptoms that don't feel like my usual fibromyalgia." Or, "I know I have fibro, but this feels different from my normal pattern and I wanted to get it checked." This shows that you understand your fibro and you're not panicking, you're observing. Then add some information like when it started, what it feels like, and how it's affecting your daily life. Doctors respond much better to this clarity. You're not claiming that it isn't fibro, you're flagging a change, and that's exactly what they need to hear. Fibromyalgia doesn't mean every symptom is a flare, but it also doesn't mean every new symptom is dangerous. Your best guide is your pattern, not your fear. And doctors will always prefer you to check, especially if something feels different. Use the phrases from this video, go in calmly and clearly, and you'll have a much better experience. Once you understand your baseline, your triggers, and your typical flare responses, it becomes much easier to sense when something needs attention. and when it's one of the many overlaps fibro shares with other conditions. Nothing about these overlaps means you're unsafe. So, now that you know how to understand these overlaps, the next step is recognizing your own patterns clearly. To do that, you need a simple way to track your symptoms, so watch this video next. It walks you through exactly how to track your fibro symptoms and understand your patterns with confidence. So click here and I'll meet you in the next one.